listening to the CVS show on Phonic FM 106.8, bringing news from the voluntary and community sector in Exeter. Exeter CVS runs the local volunteer centre, offers affordable learning, IT, management and personal development, and gives membership support to charities and community groups across the city. Visit www.exetercvs.org.uk or call 01392 20 20 55 to find out.
Good afternoon, it's the CVS show. Thursday afternoon, it's nice and sunny out there as well.
Warmer than our office.
Freezing there at the moment. It's been quite good fun over the summer, really. It's been like sort of temporarily camping, and that's the hardiness of the voluntary sector, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And actually, do you know, I was reading a really good article today that's just come out from, not NCVO, Synergy people.
Oh, yes.
Saying that volunteers bring in £43 billion worth
to the economy.
To the economy each year, whereas Tesco's bring 39 billion. So actually...
So we're beating Tesco.
So we're beating Tesco's.
Yeah, that's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, fantastic.
But it's never enough. We want more people to do more volunteering.
Always want more people.
There's always a need out there. And with that in mind, I'd like to welcome our guests this afternoon. We've got Sue and Teena from the British Legion who are here. Hi to both of you.
Hi.
And we want to talk about the British Legion. It's the first time we've sort of got in touch with you guys and started working together to get volunteers, and that's because you've got some sort of mentoring projects that are kicking off in Exeter, haven't you?
Not really mentoring projects, John. With the Royal British Legion, we offer welfare support across the sort of the community to sort of young and old, veterans and sort of ex-serving men and women. I'm currently serving men and women of the British Armed Forces. What we're looking for is some volunteers. I'm my area. I'm a case officer for Exeter, Mid, North and East Devon, and I rely very heavily on volunteers within my role, and we call them caseworkers.
Okay, yeah.
And they're the face of our community, really. They're the ones that go and meet the beneficiaries.
Right.
So I came to meet you. I think I popped into the CVS offices and amongst all the turmoil, so thanks for putting up with all the dust.
Well, yeah, I think we squashed you between two sets of filing cabinets at the back there, didn't we? Yeah.
The dust was great, washed my hair when I left. But anyway, so I came to speak to you about it because obviously I've got a number of volunteers, a very loyal and dedicated volunteers, but actually we're always after more.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons why I came to introduce myself is actually because I knew about your service, and I thought it's sort of beneficial for us to sort of meet to let you know what the welfare side of the Legion can do.
Well, we were chatting earlier on about what conjures up in people's head when you say British Legion, and we all know the poppy appeal. So I think we were asking people, weren't they? They were saying that they were thinking of the poppy appeal, or they were thinking of like sort of old soldiers, that kind of stuff. But really, it's anybody, isn't it, who has come out of the armed forces in one way or the other.
Yeah, absolutely. It's anyone who's come out. 7 days pay gives someone eligibility for Royal British Legion assistance. Okay. And then it could be family members, ex-partners, people who've cohabited with somebody and had a substantial relationship, and carers as well. Mm-hmm. And we can also offer support sometimes to those financially dependent, if aged up to 25 in full-time education. Yeah. So a lot of people don't know that bit.
Oh, that's interesting.
Or if they've got a long-term health condition and they're still dependent on somebody with a service background. So it's really wide, and it's even wider than that, but it's probably too long to talk about on this show, but there's a lot of different ways people can be eligible.
One of the key ones is that people don't really understand is if they've been divorced for a loved one that's been in the forces, and they've never remarried, and then sort of 20 years later they might need Legion assistance, they won't realise that actually they can still come to us, because obviously they've never remarried, and they're not reliant upon anybody else, so actually the last kind of long-term partner was a forces beneficiary, so they can actually come to us and seek assistance as well.
So anyone really who's had a significant link to the forces in some way can get some kind of help.
That would be fair to say.
Yeah. And a lot of people need the help. I mean, that's one of the things that we know. Emily and I went to a forces hub launch, didn't we, at St Lloyd's a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And there was quite a lot of like young guys there who had kind of like prosthetics, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of need for people who come out of the services to get some kind of support, even if it's just to kind of help them find their way back into sort of mainstream society.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of our office bases up there at the Armed Forces Hub at the top of the main street in Exeter. and we work really closely with that project. But yeah, there's a huge need, and that's one of the reasons why we're on here today, because we need the volunteers to kind of actually be able to go out, assess those people, and then see what kind of support we can offer. We've got lots of specialist services that we can offer. So there's lots of backup from benefit specialists, outreach specialists, war pension specialists. There's a lot of things we do that people don't realise that we do.
Yeah.
And of course we link into all other local projects, and sometimes we're the friendly face still when people come out, because the Legion's that affiliated organisation. They'd rather come to us as a first point of contact, and then we make sure they get in touch with whichever organisation they need if we can't do what they need. So that's why Teena is so very busy.
I am, yes.
and needs some extra help across Devon, because it's hard getting to people, where they're out in rural communities as well. We do lots of home visiting, but we're also looking for people to help us in the hub, because we're there alongside St Loy's, maybe just being a first point of contact, like a reception type role, providing some information
roles as well.
Information and administration. So there's lots of different opportunities, really.
I can imagine that'd be quite demanding, the information role, even, because you've got to learn all the different kind of sections of things that are going on. Interesting role for people.
How we sort of look at, we do a 3-day training programme for our volunteers, and what we sort of look at is assessing, so having to assess a client's needs, and we use a full needs assessment. So we look at 7 areas of need, which could be sort of financial, housing, social networks, physical, mental health, and community sort of support. So that's we train our volunteers to complete these full needs assessments in a sort of succinct way, and then they gather the information for us. So they, like I say, they're the face of the Legion. So they're meeting the beneficiaries, they're building that rapport with the beneficiaries, and sometimes it takes a while, because as you can imagine, a lot of them come out of the services, they've sort of experiences of mental health issues, post-traumatic stress disorders is very sort of prominent within the forces members. So we need sort of volunteers that can understand that, and actually understand that these people, and they're very proud people, they've come out of the forces, and sometimes they don't want to ask for help, but they're at a crucial time in their life that they might need some assistance. So the volunteer's role is, I believe, really rewarding, because actually you're assisting someone that's actually helped in our country. So for me, it's a very rewarding position. We train you, we peer support you, and we ensure that actually every step of the way that there's someone there for you to ask information and advice.
I think it's something that people definitely will want to support. I mean, there's been quite a lot of good publicity over the last few years with things like Help for Heroes. So there is a kind of sense of consciousness of there are plenty of people coming out of the services who actually need support. And it's great that the support's there. I just wanted to say, I spoke to my auntie a couple of weeks ago, who was 91. And I was chatting to her about my uncle, and he was in the Second World War. And she said that when they first got married, he used to wake up screaming most nights because of what had happened in the war, and he wouldn't tell anybody about it, he wouldn't talk to anybody about it. And she actually says to me, thank God nowadays that doesn't have to happen. There are people to talk to about what people might have been through.
There's many support services with the Legion. I think I've been in post with the Royal British Legion now for, I'd say, 6 months as a paid worker. I was a professional volunteer myself before I got a paid position. And since coming on board as a paid member of staff, and the training that I've had and the knowledge that I've gained, even I've been surprised at how many support services are out there, and charity services out there that are there to assist those that need employment, rehabilitation, mental health support. The projects, there's an amazing amount of projects, and I just think it's amazing that people are giving up their time to put these projects together to help sort of ex-servicemen and women to rehabilitate back into the community. Because if you've been a long-serving member of the armed forces, they're sort of kind of institutionalised in a sense, aren't they? Everything's done for them, their bills are paid, their food's put on the table, they've not had to manage households or anything like that. So a lot of the single sort of servicemen and women. So it's kind of, that's where I think the volunteers and the Legion come in to offer that support. And
I suppose the support is at whatever level they need. So there might be people who have an assessment and it's pretty straightforward. They need some signposting and a bit of help along the way, right up to people who need long-term support in some way or other. I suppose people think that the Legion's there just for sort of financial assistance, and I think a couple of years ago there was a different model with the Royal British Legion, and sort of people could approach for financial assistance, be it a washing machine, or they might need a deposit bond guarantee, or they might need an electric mobility vehicle. So, but nowadays we kind of changed the model with the Royal British Legion. It's about sort of holistic needs. So we don't just look at
at the presenting issue, that they need a new washing machine, we look at the reasons behind it, because it might be that they don't have enough sort of benefits on board. They might be missing a key benefit, so lacking of a minimal income coming in the door. Could be a housing issue which they haven't sort of kind of want to talk about. So we do have really holistic needs over them 7 needs that I mentioned previously, and we get a picture for it. So we're building a picture of that client to be able to offer them the support, the full needs, rather than going, oh yeah, here's a washing machine. It's never that simple, we believe, and actually when we get that and build that picture, I think people are sort of really appreciative of the support that we offer. And actually it's something we're covering, they don't need to be able to go for housing problems, so we can do a lot of signposting off, we can support them to advocate with them. If there's benefit issues, like Sue said, we have a benefits and money advice specialist team within the Royal British Legion. So they've got specialists that cover most aspects. Independent living team, you mentioned people that sort of coming back out of the forces that are wounded. We have a special independent living advice team that they help sort of benefits appeals, for the disability benefits, like personal independence payments, so specialist teams that help them, but also to liaise and advocate on the client's behalf to primary care services to get the right care package on board at home. So it's a really whole holistic look at somebody's life, and hopefully we can help them to make it better for themselves.
Yeah, that makes it's a much better way of looking at it, really, isn't it? Should we have a bit of music and then come back and have another chat?
Yeah, so.
The CVS show on Phonic FM. Find out more about community and voluntary work in Exeter at www.exetercvs.org.uk. Visit us weekdays 9:30 to 4:30 on King William Street, or call 01392 20 20 55.
CVS jingle.
That's a CVS jingle, yes. You can visit us weekdays, but you will have to kind of creep round the back of the car park and ring the ding dong bell. We did have a Big Ben bell at one point, didn't we? Bing bong. Bing,
Is it still not that?
No,
or
that
have
one
I just become desensitised to the sound?
Yeah, I think
I have. What is it now then?
It's just a normal ding dong, like a normal doorbell.
Oh, there you go. No, I think I try and cut off when the bell goes, because it means that's it. I'm not going to stand up and get it. So
no, there's so many ringtones nowadays, aren't there?
Yeah, it could be some phone in the office. That's what I put it down to.
It's the iPhone ringtone, isn't it? That's the worst one, because everyone's got the same.
Yeah.
You'll go to your handbag, don't you? For some reason, it's all the same.
It is indeed. It's a world of bleeps and jingles and things nowadays, isn't it? A far cry from how it was many years ago. I tried to bring a link in there.
Yeah, well done, John.
Well, Emily and I wanted to know a bit about the history of the British Legion. It's something that we've always known has been around. I'm assuming it must be a post-First World War creation?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. It is following the First World War. British Legion first kind of came into being in around 1921. Following the First World War, and it was then sort of membership organisation to sort of acknowledge the comradeship that was needed following all the difficulties around the First World War, and so grew out of that sort of branches and some of the club network that people are sort of aware of as well, which is another big part of what the Legion's known for. That, and of course being the custodians of remembrance as well, during that November period. Because I had that in my head. The British Legion clubs, you hear that talked about, like that's where guys would go and play darts and drink beer and talk to sort of fellow ex-service guys. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I quite often when I'm out doing talks to people and I say I work for the Royal British Legion, and I look around the room and I say, you think I pull pints for a living, don't you? And that is what people think. But yeah, there are still a lot of clubs out there, and there are many branches as well, also doing lots of remembrance type activities and keeping the thoughts about the fallen in people's minds throughout the year. And they get together, and they're also it's a real element of comradeship out there. But there are ways of joining the sort of national branches as well now. It's free for people who are serving. They can just sign on the website and become a Royal British Legion member. It's kind of like an associate member, if you like. You don't get all the bells and whistles that you do get if you're a sort of signed up member, but lots of people do choose to actually subscribe, and you can just go on the website now and become a member and choose whether you want to be a member of a local branch and go down and get involved in something, or you can just be a member of one of the national branches, and we'll keep you in the picture with what's going on nationally, with the organisation, really.
Oh, so people can join up because they have an interest in helping. They don't have to have been involved in some kind of military way.
Yeah, don't have to have a military background at all. Obviously, just people feel a strong affiliation sometimes and want to show their support in some way.
Yeah.
And like I say, if it's a national branch, there's no need to go down to the local branch or club and get involved. But some people want to learn to be a standard bearer or get involved in the committee work or the local fundraising work or something like that as well.
Because I imagine fundraising work must go on all year round, not just for the kind of November poppy time.
Yeah, absolutely does, John. We're actually just coming towards the end of our financial year. We have a weird financial year. It runs from October to September,
and the reason
the reason being because of the poppy appeal that happens during the end of October through to the 11th of November, which is the only period we're really allowed to kind of get out on the street and actually collect monies.
Okay.
Sort of particularly, but yeah, during the rest of the year, the branch network and just many very generous people get involved in fundraising activities for the Royal British Legion. This month there are some big events people can get involved in. The Pedal to Paris nationally.
Oh, I've seen it on Twitter. Yeah.
I can't remember exactly the dates when they set off and get back, but it's an amazing event. So they cycle obviously from London, get a ferry over. I don't know if they make them cycle around the ferry when they're there.
Yeah, they have to keep going.
I always ask myself that question. I guess I'll have to do it one year to find out. And then they cycle through the countryside of northern France. And my understanding is that the people in the villages of northern France, they turn out for this because there's that memory of the support during the Second World War, and then they get to cycle at the Champs-Elysees and to the Arc de Triomphe. So lots of really full-on cyclists love it as an event because there's not many events where you get to do that. Of course, at Tour de France, people really want to have a chance to cycle up, but they take everyone from kind of as long as you're fit enough to do it to those who are used to doing these fantastic cycle runs. But so loads of events. Could be that, could be just people putting on a green tea afternoon, whatever, or a couple of hours if people want to volunteer and just stand outside a supermarket and collect when people are stopping to buy make a donation for a poppy during the Remembrance Tide, really. I
would say that loads and loads of people have got some kind of connection in the sense they've got a friend who's got a family member who's been in the services, or a son or a daughter who's been injured. So there's always we've all got a reason to do some fundraising for the British Legion, I think.
And actually, as you say, everybody's probably got a connection to the maybe not the First World War now, but the Second World War.
And ongoing as well, because I think there must have come a point with the British Legion where they, after the Second World War obviously, when they thought, well, actually there's people going in and out of the services all the time, there's something going on somewhere, and it's not just about the old guys as we would see them now, it's about the young guys coming out. Because you were saying earlier on, the average person coming to the hub in Exeter to get help is guys in their sort of late 20s to mid 50s.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're looking at the kind of Afghan, Iraqi vets all the way through to kind of Kosovo, Bosnia, Kosovo, Northern Ireland, all of that. And obviously there's quite a lot of issues, and if you think about those kinds of things that went on in those environments, people are carrying quite a lot of stuff with them sometimes as well. And not everyone saw an operational tour. Some people we do see obviously wounded, injured, sick people who may have just had an injury in service, or have got unwell whilst they've been in service, or unwell since, or having a critical life event since, whether that's just a problem with no job and no housing at the moment. But there's a real wide gamut of experiences, and everything under the sun. It's a wide group of people, and they could be having any experience really, and sort of we're there to try and point them in the right direction, or help if we can. And
it's a big remit for you and your volunteers, really, isn't it, to kind of learn all this stuff, learn all the signposting. But that's what we want people to do, isn't it? So Teena, are you going to be training people?
Yeah, absolutely. What we'll be looking at doing is obviously today is one of our key sort of promotion days to get some Legion volunteers, and hopefully we're going to get some people contact us. That'd be really nice. Go through our contact centre. We've got some national contact centre. They can ring up that number on that. They can find it online, or I can provide the number to you and you can put it on your website later, how you'd like to see.
That'd be good.
And then they can make contact with us. They will come to sort of myself or my team leader Sue, and then we arrange to meet them, have interviews with them, and then we provide a training programme over a sort of a 2 to 3 week period. It's 3 full days training, isn't it, at the moment?
For caseworkers it is, yeah. Information volunteers, if someone wants to do a lower key job that's more about reception and just meeting people in the first instance, we can usually do that in around half a day to a day, and then a lot of the learning's sort of on the job with support really. So there's lots of different levels that we can offer, but
and administration assistants can come in straight away and help me in my office and sort of gathering information for me. Local information folders are always used to be put together. Like I said, I've only been in my area for 6 months now, and I've got a large area to cover, so North Devon and East Devon, and knowing all the services that are out there. There's masses of services out there that help people, sort of different councils that might be available, homeless projects that might be available, food banks. So it's about collating all of that information. So administration staff are really good to help me on to do that, and to do some administration work from the computers as well, inputting information onto one of our systems.
Okay, that's good to know actually.
And what are the key elements that you look, apart from the person itself and doing the interview, what other induction processes? I mean, do they having a CRB check? Do they need a driver's licence? What are the key elements that volunteers need to have?
If they're looking at doing casework and they wanted to volunteer to become a caseworker, then obviously that's in the community, so a driving licence would be necessary. I'm based at the Exeter Armed Forces Hub, so actually Exeter Central. So if you wanted to be a caseworker within the city, public transport available. We pay for that one. We cover costs.
Good. That's good.
So public transports, we cover the cost of volunteer expenses. And if they sort of administration, somebody that's keen to sort of give of themselves really. Some of the key qualities for me is kind of some good organisational skills. You're going to be doing administration. Able to sort of kind of look at a form, fill a form in, and to explore a person's experiences. So I think that's key to say, isn't it? They need to be able to explore someone's life and ask the right questions. So good interviewing techniques, really. So if your sort of background has been, and you're suddenly retired, and your background's been sort of in interviewing people, keep those skills up. That's that's some of the qualities we'll be looking in.
And do you CRB check? DBS check.
DBS check,
the DBS check now. Yes, all volunteers, because we're working with vulnerable people in the community. All of our volunteers would need to be, all our caseworkers that are going into the community would be DBSs. But I'm not sure our administration staff wouldn't need to, and our sort of our information officers that are office based, they wouldn't need to be. But all of those that are going to the community and going face to face with clients in their own homes.
Okay, so the 3 days of training is kind of spread out over a couple of weeks, you said. So
that's right.
Could this be fitted around somebody who is, say, full-time working as well?
Yes, if the difficulty is, obviously, we do normally on the first week there's 2 full days training. It normally starts 10 till 4, I believe, is the sort of training, sort of around sort of 10 till 4 for 2 days a week, and then the following week is the final day of training. They would have to take time off from work, I'm afraid, take some annual leave. But the casework that we're asking to do tends to be sort of evening times.
Okay, that's good.
Weekend times. When I was a professional caseworker volunteer, I did it for about 6-7 years, and that was how the Legion used to work back then. But I was a housing support officer in a housing association, but my employers then allowed me to go and do my Legion work within my sort of work hours because it was linked to housing and issues. So I did that within my work. But then if the ones that weren't linked to work, I did it outside in the evening time. So I'd finish work at 5 o'clock, and then I'd go and see a client for 2 hours, take the information, gather the information that was required, and go home. And there's some inputting onto computer systems. So you asked about qualities for volunteers. One of them would be being computer literate, really.
Yeah,
we do offer training, but obviously all of our forms have to be inputted onto our computer systems. So having some computer knowledge would be really beneficial if they were looking to be a caseworker volunteer.
So actually that's quite good, because we could push it through employee supported volunteering to business.
We could do, actually,
sorry, just a thought. So it's on there, so I'll remember it.
I'll remind you of that when I'm editing.
Thanks, John.
Send an email.
What about the kind of commitment in terms of weekly hours? I mean, is there anything sort of prescribed, or would it be just sort of...
Well, that's sort of the beauty, if you like, of being maybe a caseworker volunteer, because apart from the initial training, it's really a very autonomous role for somebody, because they don't have an office they have to come to deliver a service. It's an appointment they're going to arrange with one of our beneficiaries to do a home visit. Maybe they might need to meet them somewhere if they felt more comfortable to do that. So people can basically kind of do it in the time that they have available. When I'm chatting to people when we're recruiting, we say you probably need to try and put aside sort of half a day to a day a week, but that could be worked at any time.
Could be stuff you're doing in the evening on your computer.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
it's just to allow, if you went on a visit, then it's the travelling to and from. The visit potentially is an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, and then if you come back and obviously you're uploading some information to one of our web systems, and you might, that's easily going to be sort of 5 hours work for somebody.
Yeah.
And once they've got a few cases, they might be checking in on people, running those cases over that time. But it's really about them. So it's a very autonomous role, but with obviously lots of support from myself and from Teena and the rest of the team where people need it. So they're emailing us or ringing us, for asking queries, what else they can do. So yeah,
it does sound like
it's very flexible.
Supported well as well. So how many cases would a caseworker have at any one time? So how many people would they work?
Assuming it's up to them, isn't it?
How much time have they got? Yes,
absolutely. It depends on their commitment, how much they'd like to commit to. As case officers, we can carry sort of 30 cases and above. Well, I'm certainly carrying about 30 at the minute, but my other casework officers are carrying plenty more. But we have caseworkers that might carry one, and that's all they'd like to do, just one a month. Or there's some that will be very happy to take 2 or 3 cases on and run them consecutively alongside each other. So it's really dependent upon the volunteer, the time they'd like to give, and we do ask for a minimal commitment, like Sue just said, hopefully half a day a week to a day a week. But if they wanted to do more, then by all means. But we do appreciate that they've also got their own lives to get on with as well. So an average day a week, that's what I found as a volunteer caseworker when I was a professional. About a day a week I would sort of put to it, because I was quite happy to take on a few cases alongside my sort of day work as well.
And do you find that there are people who do this as a volunteer, and then it becomes a really good training ground for them to then go into social work as a career? Do people use it as a career change opportunity, or do you get younger people coming in saying, well, I want to test the water with social work, so could I get involved with this?
That's a good question, actually. I think what's happening is that the kind of volunteers that we're getting is changing. We always traditionally got a lot of ex-professionals who were retiring, but we are now getting a lot more people who are coming through that are interested in it as a sort of career development element, or as practice, because maybe they are. I think we've got a second year OT student in the Plymouth area who is potentially going to be looking at doing the caseworker training. She's an information volunteer with us at the moment. So some people are using it as just an opportunity to get in front of somebody when they need to do some kind of assessing and use those skills in a real environment as well. So we don't see a huge movement through the caseworkers. Actually, people either tend to come and do it or come and decide it's not for them. The information volunteers, we've had a bit more movement in those getting work, and our admin volunteers, we rarely keep them.
So you need admin volunteers? We
do, and we've definitely we've had 3 through our area office who volunteered with us for a while, one of which who hadn't had a job, who's ex-forces, ex-navy, I think he was an ex-submariner. He'd then come out and worked in the leisure industry and sort of hotel industry for a while. Very well qualified, but he came and volunteered with us doing admin work for probably about 3 months, and then he actually managed to secure himself permanent paid employment. But he's desperate to come back and keep saying to us, when are you going to open on a Saturday so that I can come in and do something? And we're like, I'm sure we will soon. But so it's been really great. Lots of people are using it as a springboard, but I guess it depends. There's probably a few less jobs, I guess, in the sector around the kind of types of caseworker role. There's lots of skills in there. And
it's actually nice, but it could be a nice progression route for somebody as well, to start off as that information officer and then progress to the caseload, because they'll have all the information about all the services that are out there which they can.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a way of dipping your toe in the water. The training's not so onerous. You get a good chance to, like you say, absolutely. It's a really good route. We often recommend that to people if they're not entirely sure they want to go whole hog into being a caseworker first off.
Yeah. And do people come and... I mean, you said they either come along and they do it, or they come along and realise it's not for them. Is that kind of like they self-select once they get to a certain stage of the training? Because we find this quite often, don't we, with roles where there's very good training, is people get to a certain stage and think, actually, no, this isn't really for me. But you don't want people coming along sort of just wasting time. You want them to come along with the idea of moving forward with it. Yeah,
I think also for us, we really try and ask organisations on the registration document to put everything down that they want, because a volunteer will read that and they will then deselect themselves even at that initial stage. They don't even get to come to an informal chat or interview, however you do it. So it's for a volunteer looking at a role, they need to know what is it about, what's involved and all of that. And I think they either select themselves or deselect themselves, so they're already one step ahead, or if you know what I mean. I mean, some of the opportunities we get are a one-liner. Yeah. It tells you nothing.
Volunteer for us.
Yeah. Well, actually, the one I always say is volunteer cake baker. Didn't say who, why, what it was for, were they raising money, well, just bake a cake and drop it off.
Well, just somebody didn't have time to bake their own cakes when someone's coming in their house to do it for them.
I mean, if anybody's interested from the conversation today, well, the Armed Forces Hub, where the Legion have a surgery, a drop-in surgery, on a Tuesday morning. So they're very welcome to come down. We can talk more in depth about the volunteer roles. We have some information we can give out about the volunteer roles available, some handouts that they can go away with, and then sort of kind of read it, and then come back and have an informal chat again if they wanted. Then it would be a formal interview process. But if they're just thinking, it sounds interesting, but I'm not quite sure, then do please come down. And I'm normally there every Tuesday. Come down and have a chat. If I'm not around, I should be back sometime in the day. But do please come down and have a chat with us.
Come down and get a feel for it, get some information, and take it from there, which sounds like a good idea. And what numbers to call? We're going to put those on the website, aren't we?
We'll put all of those on the website,
And training, is it something you wait until you've got so many people ready and then you do training, or is it an ongoing training?
We schedule our caseworker training about 4 times a year.
Okay.
So the next one's scheduled for, I think I've got December in my calendar. I must be mad, just before Christmas. So I've just literally, this week, I am hot from training, or knackered, one or the other, is the way of putting it. So I've just done 2 days of training with a lovely group of caseworker volunteers. That was Tuesday and Wednesday this week. So we're due another one before the end of the year, but then there'll be another one, another 4 running throughout next year, and it's just about getting some minimum numbers on those ones. In terms of the information volunteer, we don't end up recruiting a big group of those, so it tends to be more 1 or 2, sort of, so not 1-to-1, but maybe 2-to-1 kind of thing, with sort of more informal, and we can do that as and when. And admin, it's an induction and kind of on the job really, so so it's quite easy to
get everyone involved and get it all sorted out. That sounds brilliant.
Everything will be up on our website with an article.
Yes, we will indeed.
Next week.
And start sending people your way, hopefully, which would be really good.
That'd be really lovely. Thank you.
So what's really good to know is that for the caseworker roles, we're actually now recruiting for the next cohort, to which the training will be in December.
Recruiting for December. If that's no good for people, I mean, the other thing we do is we can send people to training in other areas of the country. Devon and Cornwall's just one of our areas, so
or they could come and do information.
They could come and do information
up until December, so you're not losing
absolutely
the enthusiasm of that volunteer.
Absolutely. They can come in, but do come in and have a chat with us at the hub, have a chat with Teena. We'd much rather people just came in and found out more about it and felt that it was right for them, and just find out a little bit more. Do
really good. Thank you, Sue and Teena. That's brilliant. We look forward to hearing how it's going, and maybe you'll come back in a few months' time, tell us how it's going. Give us an update.
Now that you know it's not so scary.
Now that it's not so scary, yes.
That's quite nice, really, isn't it?
Like biscuits next time, though, John.
I should have brought
no biscuits.
Lemon drizzle cake.
Lemon drizzle.
That's always a good
Thank you for having us, anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You've been listening to the CVS show on Phonic FM. The show was produced by John Stammers and Nick Kiss for Exeter CVS. For more information about any of the issues raised in this programme, visit www.exetercvs.org.uk, email cvs@exetercvs.org.uk, call 01392 2020 55, or visit us weekdays 9:30 to 4:30 on King William Street. Exeter CVS is a registered charity supporting the community and voluntary sector in Exeter.